We are less than a week away from Memorial Day, holiday weekend coming up, well, this weekend. It's a fun weekend, usually to kick off summer, but the purpose is to remember the people who died serving our country. At the Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa, that is their whole purpose. They collect the relics and the memorabilia, but for the last 20 years, they've also been especially interested in collecting stories. It's part of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project, and through it, the museum is tasked with interviewing hundreds of Idaho veterans and protecting their stories. Stories as World War II, as old as World War II, and as recent as the war in Iraq. The museum has 1,500 stories already recorded, but they're on DVD. A grant is now making it possible to make digital files out of them, to digitize them, and keep these memories alive and accessible. Here's Andrew Bartline.
To know history is to know how the past and present are connected. To know this year's leaves connect back to last decade's roots. At the Warhawk Air Museum, they know all about the roots. They know how it's all connected.
I have a real admiration for all those people who've gone before us, and they've just kept us free, and it's a wonderful country thanks to them.
Barry Hill volunteers because this is personal.
Yeah, I served in the Air Force for 5.5 years.
He serves the museum today by conserving the memories collected.
I'll be interviewing Claire Kilton for our Veterans History Project in partnership with the Library of Congress.
Initially, we tried to get as many World War II veterans as we could, and we're so happy we were able to get their stories before they passed away.
But preserving these stories on DVD?
Well, these have
that's the hard part.
A fixed life. They're not going to be here forever. They will deteriorate over time.
Barry and museum director Sue Paul couldn't let that happen, and they aren't.
To digitize the films.
They received a grant from the Canyon County Historical Society.
They gave us $24,000 for the first 500, and we have almost 1,500. So this is a beginning for us. It's an incredible beginning for us.
It's the beginning for a lot of people.
I've had families come up to me so emotional because they had never heard their grandfather or grandmother tell a story, and yet they could sit on film after they were gone and watch them tell it with smiling and laughing and talking about who they, their experiences, or crying because of an experience. So the personal part of that for families is incredible.
The Veterans History Project is in partnership with the Library of Congress, putting these stories into public record to be saved forever.
Rod with a flag on it, so that we had a reference to round out on. If you tried to round out on the thing, you'd always land high, and then it drops to the ground.
This guard is going to take you out and shoot you if you don't talk to me. And he asked me another question, and about that I got to thinking, I'm a PFC, I don't know anything, why would they shoot me?
There were still parachutes in the trees, and there were broken gliders, and there were even several hundred Germans on the beaches, but they weren't shooting at us, they were loading our supplies.
These are definitely veterans who never talked about it.
Stories that individually might just look like another leaf on the tree. But here, it matters more, traced back to the root.
And we've taken them up through all kinds of conflicts, all the way up to the most current situations around the world.
Now, this project still has another 1,000 to be processed, and of those first 500 that they got that grant for with the Historical Society, there's a timeline on that. They say it has to be done by the fall, so they're still working through all of these, Brian. They should have those first 500 done by the fall. They're looking on getting more grant money to get another 1,000 that are left, and like they said, this is World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, more recent conflicts across the country that we see today, very recent vets. So there's a large scope here if people are trying to preserve history.
Those examples that you showed there, how far back did those go?
I mean, this started in like 2003, so some of these could be 20 years old even, and you could tell by the quality on the camera a little bit as well, but
it's still nice to see it.
They go back quite some time, and some of them have props where they're showing like diagrams of this specific conflict was happening. My supervisor, I don't know the proper terms, was over here. Like, they're drawing out people on the front lines, infantrymen, mortars behind them, diagramming battles. It's pretty incredible.
Had it all in here, and now it's all for us to see. Awesome. Thank you very much, Andrew.